Good morning, everyone. We are out in the garden, and I wanted to go ahead and do an updated garden tour because we've added so much this year. So, one of the new things that we added last year, but I don't know if you guys saw this, is our gardening bench. So, it has a sink. I think we found that on Facebook sales. It was pretty cheap, less than $30. There's no actual plumbing hooked up to it because if I need water, I just use the hose, and then it drains into 5 gallon buckets, and then I just recycle the water back into the garden somehow. So I might pick up some of my smaller pots and let them soak in the bucket, or I'll just dump the bucket directly into the garden somewhere. It's really great for starting seedlings late, like these sunflowers. It's great for keeping your seedlings that I just simply haven't planted yet. I have some tools up here because back here typically stays drier. I've got tags, I have my pots, and this is really great. And then if we're about to have a storm, a lot of times I'll put my garden cart under here and just kind of keep it protected from the rain a little bit more. So as you move on from the table, this is a new area this year. So we had a garden bed that came out from the post to probably about here and then through, and it made a square. Over the last few years, it's rotten. So it had like fallen over. The dirt was spilling out everywhere. It was very difficult to walk through here. So my husband took it all out this year, leveled it out, and you can see how high the dirt was. And we laid down fresh mulch. I started sunflowers so that I can plant them here and along the back and kind of make this like a bird sanctuary because I do have bird houses along the fence here. I have their little bird bath, but I just wanted it to kind of have a prettier border instead of just wood fence. I do have a garden bed coming. It has not shipped yet, but it is a Birdie's raised bed. It is it's 30 inches tall and it's the circle. That will go right here where the pots are, and it will get shade in the afternoon and the hottest part of the day. So I think it would be a really good bed to grow my cilantro, my spinach, my things that don't like the hot sun all day. So that will go here. This is actually an apple tree. I bought it this year. I planted it. It never got any green on it. So as soon as we dug them up, we counted our losses. We bought new apple trees that had already leafed out. And as soon as we dug this one up, we saw a teeny tiny green leaf coming in on it. So we dug it up and put it in a pot, and I'll figure out what to do with it later. But I don't even know which apple tree it is. So moving on, we have some garden beds. So here is zucchini and yellow squash. Along here, I planted butternut squash, and along there, I planted cantaloupe. It's much smaller. Um, but in this bed, I originally planted this whole bed as garlic, and only 5 actually grew. I don't know why, but I planted probably 70 cloves of garlic, and all the way down, they didn't sprout. There were 5 here that sprouted, and they've already been pulled. They're drying in my on the rack right now. I have no idea why they all didn't sprout. I mean, 70 is a lot, and for only getting 5, I must have done something wrong. Maybe something dug them up. I did have them mulched with pine shavings. I still don't, but the 5 that did do well were here. So I said, whatever. I topped this bed off and I planted my brassicas, which are doing well. So here's my broccolis, and I've got cabbage towards the end. Um, Here's the lavender. We had to redo our front flower beds, so I just dug up the lavender I had up there and I decided to put it back here because I had an open spot. And then I actually just got these 2 basils yesterday. So this is a lime basil, and then we have the dark purple basil. And I think I planted a sunflower seed here, like one of those mammoth sunflowers. Here's my broccoli. We have the purple broccoli. I think it's called burgundy. Um, those are botanical interests. We have some more broccoli. I do believe one of these is a not cabbage. a Brussels sprout, but I don't know which one. I guess we'll find out later. I mean, it is what it is. Here's my chamomile that's self-seeded. I actually got my first chamomile flowers yesterday. I got 3 of them. You can see more will be opening up probably as the day goes on, but definitely tomorrow. I have some milkweed here. I had 1 milkweed plant last year, and it's shooting up everywhere. I mean, you can see it there. Um, I need to come in and with a pantyhose and a stake kind of close it up just so it doesn't overshadow my chamomile. In the pot, I have 3 very small peppers. It's probably too small of a pot for them, but I just do that all the time. It is what it is. But they are banana peppers. I didn't have anywhere else to put them, so I just kind of let them be orphans there. So in with the squash plants, I have weeds, unfortunately, but I also have a lot of dill growing because they say that dill is supposed to help prevent those squash bugs and the vine borers from taking over your plants. I've had so many problems with them in the last 2 years. Last year, they absolutely devastated all of my cucurbits. So now I'm putting dill everywhere, and I really love dill. Right, Prongs? Okay, so continuing down, I have my original bed. These 2 are the first garden beds that we put in. We put them in I think 2018, maybe 2019. My first garden here was just a dirt patch. So that was 2017, the first year I was here. 2018, we added in the beds. So they are starting to fall apart in the corners. They need to be replaced next year. They're actually 12-inch beds, but we've added mulch, so you can't even see the bottom board, and it's really sunk over here. So we'll have to fix all of this next year. But here are my peppers. I do have a little batch of radishes there. So my husband is building me these like little cage frames to help contain my peppers. I've never found a successful way to cage my peppers and my tomatoes, so I'm hoping that having them this year will help contain the plant, but also not just fall over. So I have quite a few peppers going. I think I'll have 9 cages. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So maybe 10 cages total. But I also have Black Eyed Susan, which I think I'm going to dig this up and put it in a corner flower bed just because this gets so wild and it seeds everywhere. It is native here, but I don't want it to take over where I grow my peppers. With it, I also have a bicolor sage. I have thyme, a lavender, chives that are amazing. And I had cucumbers here, but they're not doing well. Or I'm sorry, I had cantaloupe here and they're not doing well. I might try to add in a round of pole beans just to use the trellising space. So in the other original gardening bed, I have red onions on that half. And then on this part, I have leeks. They're still really small. And I have celery. And then I just have some wildflowers here. I had a whole jar of different annual seeds that I've just been collecting. So threw them in a jar, jumped them out, and I'm just going to let this be like a little bit of a pollinator patch in the middle of the garden. Here I have some pole beans. They are not doing as well as this side. These are the Red Emperor or Scarlet Emperor pole bean from Botanical Interest. Same on this side. And this one is already growing way up. We even have some like way up over here too. In the corner here, I have some pineapple sage. And then these are my loofah gourds. They are starting to thrive with the heat wave that we're coming into. But it was a little hit and miss there right at the very beginning. Here I have all my cucumbers. They're starting to flourish. They were kind of on pause for a little while. I don't know if they didn't like the initial heat. We had a lot of weird weather in May and June. We had some nights that were in the low 40s, which is very odd for where I live. And then now it's about to be 97. So it's been very wonky weather, and I don't think that cucumbers like that. These are all white onions. I have a random lavender there. I have a ground cherry that seeded itself. And then as you turn, I have my new raised bed. We added this year, and this has all of my beans in it. So one of the reasons I wanted a tall bed, number one, it's easier to get to, but number two, that very fluffy boy over there, he's very awesome, very great. He's the best boy. He has very fine fur. He is part Malamute, and he has that really fluffy fur that's not wiry, and he likes to hide in the garden. So in the past, he would hide in the green beans or like along the green bean bed, and he would brush up against the beans, and it was like Velcro. So I felt like every green bean I was eating had dog hair on it. So we got the raised bed because while they can still investigate and sniff, they're not rubbing against it with their fur. I have had a little bit of a pill bug issue in the garden. Cut some old oranges in half, and they really like that. You can see where I just pulled this from. So they go there instead of eating my plants. So I will replace the oranges in a couple days. It kind of sucks because then I have to buy oranges to do this, but I'd rather sacrifice oranges and get a bunch of green beans that will continue to feed me all winter long. So here are one of the beds that we added last year. We added this long bed and then the 4 candle panels. And I have my tomatoes through the center of this bed. So my husband has completed 2 of the tomato cages. This one is larger. They will continue to be this size. And we have cilantro in both corners. We have chives in the middle. We have those pole beans in the back, and then the tomatoes run throughout the center. And I've thrown in some alyssum seeds. So there's basil peppered throughout. So we have a lot of herbs and flowers in there with the plants. This Black-Eyed Susan is larger than that one, and I planted that one. This one was a volunteer. This one is currently tied together with pantyhose. It was 3 times as wide. It's so beautiful. I can't get rid of it, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig it up and move it to a pollinator patch. So we have more dark purple basil here, and then I have a bunch of radishes and carrots. So I did a video a while back on Instagram and TikTok of recycling cardboard by throwing down radish and carrot seeds, putting cardboard on top, and then soaking it. That way it will help your carrots germinate. So my radishes are doing very well. We can see some here that are probably about to be ready. And then I also have some carrots in here too. So once I pull the radishes, it will loosen up the soil for the carrots. The radishes take, the longest I've seen radishes take is 35 days, whereas carrots will take a few months. So you're going to loosen up the soil for them. That way you can grow straight, long, healthy carrots and not get any like stunted growth because the soil's too compact. And carrots can take up to 3 weeks to germinate. I thought this was a dud. I thought I didn't get any carrots sprouted. And then I came in here and I saw all the wispies weeks later. So it can take up to 3 weeks, especially if you have older carrot seeds. So my tomatoes, I have different varieties. They are all sage seeds. I don't know that I bought any new tomato seeds this year just because I'm drowning in tomato seeds. But I do have a sage. I have a lavender. These are the green Chinese noodle beans. They take forever to grow, but they love the heat. So once they start going, they will thrive all summer long. I have a volunteer poppy. It's actually about to bloom. It just got some little buds on it. Got parsley and basil. Here's a tomato. I'm going to experiment with growing it up the trellis just because I had an empty spot. I have my rosemary, some more basil here, more radishes. This is a different type of radish. I have some golden boy beets. This was a Shasta daisy, and last year it was probably about that big. and it took up the teeniest corner. This year it came all the way out here. You can kind of tell where like, things stopped growing. I dug it up, split it 3 ways for a friend, for myself, and for my dad. I replanted it, but now I need to level this out, and I think I'm going to do some carrot rows just to utilize this space. I have butternut squash, and where I have squash, I have dill. More tomatoes throughout, and then I have my peas. So these are Oregon sugar pod peas, and they've been very prolific. I got my first official harvest the other day. I filled up a whole bowl, and I can already see right now that I've got a bunch ready. So I'm gonna have to go through and get them again. So along the fence here, we realized that we had a lot of wasted space that would get quite a bit of sun in the early morning, and we wanted to do something that was easy. We didn't have to deal with it and maintain it all the time. We could just kind of let it go. So we planted 3 grapevines. That one got hit with a weed whacker. Fatal mistake. RIP. I've left it just in case it gets any green on it. But I can always replace it either next year or maybe later in the season. But we have a green grape and a purple grape. And I can show you what my husband did here. So once it grows up and has a leader that comes up and starts sending out its leaves and its tendrils, my husband used these, I don't know what they're called, maybe eye bolts, and some metal wire, and he has one of those little tightening things down here, but it runs all the way across the fence. I mean, it is our fence. You can see the posts, and that way we can use this area instead of letting it be vacant, or that would maybe require more maintaining, like if we did a flower bed or a garden bed here. But the grapes, we put rocks around them so we don't have another weed whacker incident, and they will grow up, and then we can train them out. So this year we've added 4 fruit trees to our little homestead here. We added 3 apple trees and a cherry tree. So let me show you those. So here is the Honeycrisp. I think this is my Fiji apple. I accidentally pulled the tag off. I originally planted 2 apple trees here. They never flowered. They never got leaves. They never did anything. One was totally dead when we pulled it out. This one wasn't dead, and that is in the pot in the garden there. This is where I want to make that like pollinator patch, more native flowers. So this is a table my husband built for all my rain barrels. We got 6 new rain barrels this year. We need to level this out, get that up there, and then this can all be some awesome perennials that are native here. We do have this strawberry Sunday hydrangea. It's kind of turned into a tree, and I'm okay with it. The only bad thing about this patch is that one of the original owners of the house, or maybe somebody that lived here before us, they had a pond here, and so it was a little artificial one. The dogs kept getting in it naturally, so I had to remove it. But then I found that they lined the pond with plastic bags from like their dirt and their mulch. So I'm still constantly digging it out. It's a pain in the butt, but we need to come over here and clean this up. But it does have potential. I think all the black-eyed Susan and coneflowers would be really great over here. Daisies. I could even pop in some annuals if I wanted. But I think this would be a great like dumping ground for the perennials that are seeded naturally here that I don't want in my garden beds, but I want to keep them. So I'll put them over here, and I think that this will be a great space with the rain barrel and then the 2 apple trees. So coming up on the deck, we have lavender. We have a pot with bok choy and baby bok choy. I have some lettuces. There's 5 types of lettuces. We have butter crunch lettuce, a lettuce mix. I'm trying to think of the name of it. We have arugula, spinach, and then a lettuce mix that was like free whenever you buy seeds online. In the corner here, I have some lemon balm. I have a Thai pepper that has been overwintered. So that was inside all winter with me. I had it under grow lights. I've topped it a couple times. It looks really good. Purple basil growing, some aloe. We are currently refinishing the deck, so I just shoved that over there. uh, until we're totally done with it. Then we can put it away. But yes, we will be redoing the deck soon here. Here is like a little herb bed. Sage, we have cilantro in the corner, rosemary, dill, a bunch of basils. You can tell basil's my favorite. And then I have radishes, and this is so easy because radishes take as little as 21 days to mature. So I dump seeds. When one is ready, I pull them and then add a few more seeds just so I can keep a cycle of radishes going. We have this part of the yard partitioned off from the dogs just because we're trying to get rid of some of the mud pit because they just keep tracking it into the house. So we do have grass going, um, but we need it to be fully established before we let the dogs over there again. But right in front of the steps, I have sweet mint and spearmint, and these smell amazing. I love having them on the deck. Number one, you don't want to put mint in the ground ever, it will take over everything. I mean, look at my spearmint. This was one little plant right in the center, and it keeps sending out these tendrils to root. And while I love that in a pot, imagine that in a garden bed. It would take over the entire bed. So we are on the other side of that partitioned off section. This is where I have my strawberries and then a couple other plants and an apple tree. So I have my red hibiscus there. I have some volunteer beans that are growing up this little fence piece that we use as a trellis. And then I have my strawberries. So in with the strawberries, I planted some annual seeds. You can see them kind of popping up over here by the beans. I have marjoram, I have tarragon, sage, and then I have nasturtium all in the front because the most beautiful thing I've ever seen is when the front of this bed fills up with nasturtium spilling over. It's amazing. I had to go find new strawberry plants because my dog dug them up. So I only had two left. So I went and bought more, and I'm letting them send out their runners because once they send out their runner, like this, at this point, this knuckle, they will root down. So that was a runner sent out, it rooted down, and now it's sending out another one. So I just keep nestling it in the dirt like this because I want this whole bed to be full of strawberries. So over here, I have my Gala apple. I wanted to put them in separate areas of the yard just so that I can make sure their canopy gets enough light, and they are close enough to help cross-pollinate with each other. But this one is the largest of the apple trees that I bought. I'm really happy with it, and I think that it'll do well over here. The chickens are not happy with me. They want out right now. So on the other side of this fence is that pollinator patch that I want to make. And this is kind of becoming like a little berry patch. So I bought elderberries. They have not taken off, which is so frustrating, from the same place that I got the apple trees. But here's my cherry tree in the center. And it'll kind of help because this is my neighbor's yard and that is my bedroom window. So I can get some kind of natural privacy there. I have a lilac, but I might move it because it doesn't seem to do well here. It's so small. I have blackberries right next to the lilacs. Those are really filling in. I've got raspberries. This one's golden. This one's red, like a regular red raspberry. And then here are my blueberry bushes. And so they're starting to change and ripen up a little bit. I had this for years before it ever flowered or did anything. And so I always love when I get berries on it now. Ooh, this one's actually ready. Okay, that blueberry was like probably the best I've ever had. Along this fence, I have some oak logs. So I bought some little plugs that are inoculated with mushrooms. So I bought a lion's mane and a chicken of the woods. So I'm going to put those plugs into this log and then it will break down and it will spread the mycelium. And in a year, I will get a lion's mane and chicken of the woods. I had to think of what I got. Um, so those will grow and it will grow, I think, whatever the diameter of your log is, that's like equivalent to 1 year that you'll get mushrooms growing from the log. So this one will obviously not be as long, but this one will be a little bit longer because it's larger. But those, this gets obviously more shade as the day goes on because of the fence. But I actually might even try to move it to like be under my burning bush over there just to get it a little bit less sunlight. So that is the garden tour of the Littlest Homestead.